Okay, so let's let's go way back. So you're a kid now. At what age? So two parts to this question. At what age did you start becoming involved in track and field? And were there any other sports that you were involved in when you were growing up?
So I became involved with track and field at probably the age of 5, but I never took it like seriously. I enjoyed it as a kid.
Hmm.
So like no AAU meets, no junior Olympic meets. Just a little kid meeting out on maybe about 4 or 5 Saturdays out the month racing. And then like the other have you ever heard of Hershey track and field?
I have. I don't know what it is, but I've heard the term, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, so that's what I did growing up.
Okay.
It was a STEM, a USATF, USA track and field at the
Okay.
time, but it wasn't like on the same caliber as like the Junior Olympics or the
Yeah.
AA meets. So it was kind of like it was really like how they have rec basketball. It was really like rec track.
Okay. So it's pretty like low key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because I came from a small town, so it was just it was cool. I did have the opportunity to go to the national Hershey track and field meet in Pennsylvania when I was 12,
Mhm.
and I actually made it for long jump.
Okay.
Yes, and I got eighth. So I was like, okay, cool. But then realized long jump wasn't in my future once I got to coastal. So it's all right. But yeah, so I would say like I did Hershey track and field from the time I was 5 up until I was 13, and then I didn't start high school track until I was 14 in 8th grade. So
Okay.
yeah, so I did Hershey track and field up until I was in 7th grade, and then 8th grade is when I started high school track and field. Um, and then every year I did high school track, I had a different coach. So
Okay.
when you look at like the times that I ran in high school, I won't say I was supposed to run those times, but I was never under the same training system. And you have with different coaches come different training philosophies.
Yeah, 100%.
So like my freshman year, I had a coach. Um, he believed in, weight room in the off season conditioning. And for the less this is for the record. So like being at a small school in South Carolina in the country, um, the school's very small for one. So you have most of your athletes who are doing dual sports, maybe some kids doing 3 sports. So you never fully get the opportunity to know what it's like to condition yourself to run a whole track and field season.
Hmm.
So like in college, when I got to college, like that was the first time I had ever went through a whole full season of track and field, conditioning in the fall, running in spring. Like
Okay.
it never happened for me. I would go, I was in a band, I was in a lot of different clubs. I did play basketball up until my junior year, and all of those things like collided with each other up until around about January. And so then February is when we would actually start track practice and stuff because basketball will go until maybe the first or second week in February.
Hmm.
And so then the next 2 weeks, like if you didn't make the playoffs or the state championships, then you're done. So then you go out to track and field practice and then boom, you start running in March.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
with
okay.
conditioning there. So at that point, you're just running off of pure God-given talent
Yeah, yeah, okay.
or
And
whatever you got from basketball. And then
yeah.
like not trying to not trying to disrespect, where I came from and how I grew up because it's made me into who I am today.
Hmm.
But, you know, the other way they would have to get kids to play like different sports is saying like, basketball will get you in shape for track. And
Yeah,
that is
yeah, yeah.
just not true. It's not true.
Yeah.
It's not. And so like that was the other thing. It's like you say I get in shape for basketball, but then you weren't really in shape for basketball because you were doing another sport before you even got to basketball. So you just got thrown into basketball. It's just a repeating cycle.
Yeah, so it's just like very, very kind of like general, like what you might be doing in basketball is better than sitting on the couch, but it's not like it's not specifically preparing you for what you need to in the demands of a track season, right?
Right, right. And so yeah, so that was the biggest thing, like when I was in high school, just never being able to go through a season of conditioning and then get into the actual season of running. And so my senior year, I made the executive decision that I wasn't going to play basketball that year and that I was just going to focus on track. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I was out there doing stuff by myself. I didn't know what I was
Okay.
doing.
Okay.
I was just, trying to set myself up for something, which that did get kind of pushed back a little bit because like during that fall semester, I was dealing with the donation process for my dad and being his donor.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say it got pushed back a lot, but it was more so like my focus was elsewhere
Yeah.
at the beginning. So
Yeah. Okay. But I think that to me, that says a lot about your personality and your drive and your motivation. The fact that you've got like no track specific resources, no one to train with in the off season of your senior year. Yet it's like, do you know what? I'm going to do this anyway. Like it would be
yep.
very easy to say, do you know what? This isn't possible because I've got no one here that can guide me. But like you just flip that around and you know what? Like, well, I'm going to do it anyway, which I feel like is kind of reflects as well. It's similar to your approach, your attitude, the way you approach what you were saying with the USA is like not everything was set up perfectly, but it's like, do you know what? This is my situation. These are the cards I've been dealt. I'm just going to go and make the best of it. So and like essentially control what I can, right? Control the controllables. And
Yep.
like, yeah, I think that's very much coming across. So, I mean, I feel like you've answered this already. So like, when did really you started taking sprinting seriously once you got to college? Is that like a fair assessment? Maybe a bit more in your senior year of high school, but
So I'll be honest and say, so my freshman year, well, it's not on the World Athletics page, but my freshman year, my coach actually got me to run 12 flat.
okay.
Yeah. And then the next excuse me, the next year I had a different coach. And there was a lot going on like within the team and just the coaching change and everything. So that stuff can take a toll
For
on.
sure. Yeah, lack of consistency. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I didn't run as good the next year. And then we got a coach. So well, but I was going back to your question. The coach that I had my freshman year of high school, he was the one who actually kind of gave me the confidence to say, like, okay, I could go to college and do something with this. And then like that summer of my freshman year, I actually did Junior Olympics. And I almost made it to the meet in Sacramento,
Yeah.
California. It was out there that year. And I missed about one spot. So you could imagine like me going into the next season, like, okay, like let's do this. We're gonna do this. I'm gonna go out there and win another state title in another division now because we were 1A at the time, and then we transitioned into 2A my sophomore year.
Okay.
And then everything happened with the coaches changes and everything. So that kind of got put on the back burner. I did have a little hamstring issues as well. And then that year I actually joined a summer track and field club.
Okay.
So, which was easier to deal with as far as like me being able to know about more meets because of like the coach who got me in contact with doing the Junior Olympics and stuff, like he would tell us when the meets were.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Not having him around anymore, I needed someone else to tell me where the meets were. So it was just easier to join track and field club. And in 2018, I did better in high school and then did Junior Olympics again, made it to the national meet. And that was the year I found out my dad was sick. So that was a whirlwind year as
Okay.
well. And so, but yeah, I would say I guess you could say I started taking track seriously in my freshman year, but it was just maneuvering through all the adversity, basically.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. I can see that. I can see how there were like obstacles that you had to kind of get past. But I feel like from what you're saying, with your in your freshman year with the 12 flat, like there were glimpses, obviously, of like the talent that you had,
Mhm.
from way back when. All right, okay. So kind of fast forwarding back now to college, and you sort of touched on this a little bit when you were talking about when you normally do blocks and stuff, but like what does a typical week of training look for you like now? So like if you're able to kind of break it down as much as you feel comfortable in terms of talking about, okay, on a Monday we'll do something like this, Tuesday something like this, and so on.
Yeah. So conditioning, during conditioning on Monday, we normally do like stadiums,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Tuesday is more so Tuesday turns into a technical day, but the you still get your runs in because it's conditioning. Wednesday is more so recovery day, not really recovery. Abs, pool,
Yeah. Okay.
something along that nature. Um, Thursday and Friday are death days. Thursday's a circuit. Friday is maybe grass or turf runs or just runs in general. A lot of running. Um, and like Saturday is it's not really optional, but we've kind of been building more into Saturdays as far as like within the conditioning standpoint of things. Um, and then once we get into that first training cycle after conditioning, or actually, excuse me, Fridays consist of like either grass runs or hills. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and then once you transition into that first training block after conditioning, Mondays are the hard days now. Like your speed endurance.
Hmm.
Tuesdays are your technical block days. Um, push sleds, plyometrics, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Wednesdays are still pool, woodwind, like running hundreds or whatever. Thursday is more so Thursday you do a little bit of technical stuff, but not a lot. You do a little bit more running.
Okay.
Um, but it's still a way to like focus on your mechanics and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And Friday is another death day. It's
I
more
feel like I
so,
want to. I want. Can you elaborate on the death day? I want to. If you've got kind of got like a session in mind that you might do that you would like classify as a death day session, I feel like you've definitely got something in your mind from that facial expression, right?
yeah. So
Is it painful me asking you to talk about it? That's what it looked like.
I don't know. Maybe you did see it, maybe you didn't see it. But a couple of Fridays ago, on Coach G's Instagram story, he posted me laid out on the ground,
Yeah.
just eyes closed, playing Aretha Franklin. Just I was just bad. It was just bad. So what I did was normally a Friday consists of like maybe we do something like 250, 250, 3 to 4 times 100,
Okay.
depending on what it is. Um, but this particular Friday, he went back into his bag of workouts
Okay.
way back like my freshman year.
Okay. I'm excited
And
to hear this.
we did a 60-meter workout.
Okay.
So like if you did you see when I said he asked me how many 60s I did and I said 30?
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh
3060s,
yeah.
right?
Okay. So basically what it is you run 60.
Hmm.
Um and of course you come through the line and you walk back to the line. It's not like a slow walk, like it's almost as if you're doing a split.
Yeah. Okay.
Get back to the line and then you go again.
Okay.
And I had initially I had 2 sets of 5. So
Right.
two sets of 5 60s, but down and back is one.
Oh,
So
right. Okay. So it's 2060s total.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so the thing about it was like that particular day, like I'm in the bulk of my training block right now. So I'm feeling my body in which way. Luckily I was able to do it. Normally when we do that stuff, we do it on turf because that could be a lot on your legs.
Yeah. Yeah. For
So
sure.
so we do it on either the turf or the grass. And so the first set was pretty good. Like I said, I've been doing this workout since I was probably a freshman,
Mhm.
and we don't do it a lot. We do it when we need to.
Okay.
And I think it was we were probably on the second set, and maybe like I was about to go and finish the third rep. And I just remember him coming over there talking to me, and he's like, you get into that point to where you're starting to feel sorry for yourself and you can't do that. Said, how you expect to be a 100-meter world champion if you're gonna be out here feeling bad for yourself over some 60s? And in that moment, I don't know what came over me, but like in my head, all I could see is everybody just laughing at me. And I didn't appreciate that. So I went out and I was like, you know what? I don't care if I'm dead. I'm finna go out there and run the best I can. And he was like, there we go, da, da, da. And then by the end of that workout, I was not talking for about 20 minutes. I was very mute. And so yeah, it was
Okay,
just
so that's an example of death day. I mean, but I'll be
yes.
honest, like when you said 60s, I was thinking, okay, this doesn't sound so bad. And then you started talking about like, and I think that's a really interesting point because like, you know, and this is why I like to delve into these kind of conversations with athletes because like because person one can say, yeah, we do 60s on a Friday, and person two can say we do 60s on a Friday, and the workouts can be so different. Like just because it's the same rep distance, like you can be targeting so many different qualities, and you can
Yep.
have person one that walks away from that session feel, yeah, I feel good, like that's good, like I'm ready for Saturday. And then you can have person two that, well, they're not walking away, they're like you, they're lying on the floor and and
Yeah.
silent for 20 minutes.
Like that workout is definitely that is a get you in shape
Okay. Yeah.
and get you that's definitely a get you in shape workout, but it's also good because if you focus on driving out and like driving out, by the time you get up, you
Yeah.
maybe got 20 meters left and you're through the line.
If you don't set it
So
up right though, then you kind of like you come up and you still got 45, 50
yeah,
meters to go, and it makes it worse,
yeah,
right?
you feel like, oh my God, why am I still running? It's only 60 meters.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that's a whole heap of pain. By the time you get to that 30th, 60, and you're like, oh, I've come up, there's still a long way to go. You just
Oh
don't want to be
yeah,
in that situation.
most definitely.
Um, and then kind of like a similar question. So you spoke about like the Tuesday, which would be like a technical day, but you still kind of get your running in. Are you able to kind of outline maybe an example of one of those workouts and what it might be like?
So like, oh yeah, okay. So, like on the Thursday, we might do some wickets
Hmm.
and like some push legs,
Hmm.
or well, not push legs, pull sleds, excuse me.
Okay.
Um, and then afterwards, we may have like um a handful of 150s, 4 to 6 of them, depending on who it is.
Okay.
More than likely, me, I'm probably doing like 2 150s and then some 120s after that or something like that.
Okay. So what, like a couple of 150s and a couple of 120s.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming with that, like the recovery is a little bit longer, so you're not quite so it's not necessarily to the objective of that workout, right? Isn't to have you feeling like you felt on the end of death day. The objective of that workout is to be like a little bit more technical and maybe a little bit more high quality with the runs. Is that fair or?
Yeah, that is fair. Um, and the recovery is definitely a little longer than the 60s. Because see, the thing with the 60s is you go down and back, and then you have a minute 30 to 2 minutes in between each rep.
Okay.
So like, well, like after you go down and back,
Yeah.
and you have like, yeah, and then you go again
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So with the runs on the Thursdays, like the 150s or 120s or whatever it is that we're doing, like we may the rest may be like, honestly, I don't know because I'll be running and I'll be
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah. For sure.
but
But
it's
it's not
definitely
1 minute 30, right? It's not like
yeah,
it's not 90 seconds. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Um, and then I get so you spoke about this kind of like with your block, you know, in the lead up to the USA's when you're doing your block starts, like you're always thinking about something like technical. Are there any
Mhm.
kind of like technical cues in particular that you feel like yeah, this clicks, this works for me. I need to I need to think this in order for in order for me to run well.
Mm,
Does that make sense as a question?
kind of,
So
kind of.
like what do you feel? I think talking about how what athletes think about while they sprint, I think is really interesting, because two people can think of the same thing and it works for one person and it doesn't work for the second person. So you kind
Mhm.
of have to find your own way of like framing a concept or framing an idea and thinking about things in certain words. So for example, I spoke to Isla Del Ponte on here, and she said that what worked for her was like when she was accelerating was thinking about, you know, the old this might be showing my age here, I don't know, you might be too young for this, but like the old Looney Tune cartoons where
Mhm.
they start running as fast as they can on a carpet, and then the carpet just kind of like all bunches up
Mhm.
behind them. And she felt
Yeah.
that that really worked for her, just thinking of that concept. Is there a concept or a cue, something that you think about that really feel like works for you?
Um, not necessarily a cue. I do like to go back. I do like to think about maybe my best races or my best block starts that I've had,
Okay.
and trying to remember what I felt like when I felt like, or when I had that best moment.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
like when I'm running the 60 now indoors, I try to go back to what I felt like the day before I ran um in the 60 prelims, and how that block start was, because that block start was like, it was like after I did that block start, I came back and I looked at Coach G and we both shook our head like, yeah, that was the one. And I tried to always go back to that moment to try to feel,
Yeah.
or try to see if I remember how that felt. So,
Okay. All right. So it's just kind of being in tune with those feelings. And
mhm.
yeah, Coach Goodman, he did send me a video yesterday actually of you doing a block start. I can't remember if it was the day before. It was in practice, in warm up. Can't remember if it was the day before or the day of the when you won the nationals. And I mean, yeah, it looked sharp. It looked sharp,
Mhm.
right? So I got a friend who coaches that, a guy called Terrence Burke, who coached out in California for a while in San Francisco, and he
Mhm.
says to me like you're everything he loves in a sprinter. So like he
Yeah.
loves the way he loves the way you move. I think he has a bias as well towards like he likes seeing athletes that are a bit sort of the physique is a bit slimmer as well. So it's like rather than just being somebody that can sort of like muscle it, that you're
Mhm.
somebody that relies more on mechanics and that kind of stuff. Um and anyway, so he'd said that to me a few weeks ago, and then when I watched the video yesterday that Coach Goodman sent me of you doing that warm up start, I was like, yeah, I see what he means. I see what he's coming from. So,
Yep.
all right, cool. So, two parts to this question, then we're nearly ready to wrap up. All right, but favorite track workout. I'm assuming it's not Death Day, but you can tell me what it is. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And then your least favorite workout, and this might be Death Day. So, what was your favorite and least favorite workouts on the track?
My favorite workouts on the track are actually splits. So
Okay.
like broken 300s, broken 250s, all of that good stuff. I love splits.
Okay. All right. So it's kind of like you. So I get the impression, and so like if you're doing like a broken 250, that might be like a 100 plus a 150 plus a 150, broken 300, like a 2 plus a 1 or two 150s or whatever. So it's kind of in that sort of, I guess, what I would consider that sort of rep range, like a speed endurance. So it's not a case of just sort of like short acceleration. It's like building a rhythm and maintaining it. That's kind of like how that's what you like doing.
Yeah. Well, I like seeing, like, because when he says splits, that means I know it's go-go time.
Okay.
So if it's a broken three, I'm more than likely going to run a two and a one. So I'm blasting it through 200.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm dead afterwards. But now I'm trying to see how much do I have left in the tank to get through this last 100.
Yeah.
And after coming through the line, and I'm like, woo, man, that was crazy. I can't believe I just did that. But then you get all the recovery in the world. You get like
Right. Yeah.
10 plus minutes
Yeah.
to recover and do another one. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a satisfying pain, right? So you come through you
Yeah.
come through the line at the end of that, and you've probably finished that 200, and then you're stood ready to go for that 100, and you're like, do you know what? I know this is gonna hurt, and then you kind of cross the line and like, yeah, I was right, it does hurt, but I feel like I've got better, and it's a satisfying kind of, there's satisfaction
Yeah.
with that
It's like a sense of like
accomplishment.
yeah, like hey, I did that and I could do it again if I wanted
Yeah.
to.
All right. Okay. Cool. And then least favorite track workout.
150s.
Okay. All right.
I do,
Okay.
I do not like 150s.
So what are we talking about? Like how many reps are 150s? Are we talking about like quite a few reps off short recovery when you say that, or?
Yes, so I think my freshman year I did so many 150s that I don't know. Anytime he says 150s, my mood just deflates.
So how many 150s might you do? Like if he's giving you, if you go to the track, right, and then Coach Goodman says, today we're doing X number of 150s, and him saying that to you makes you go, not today, coach. Like what number is he saying?
Well, I'll be honest and say the most I've done in a workout is
Mhm.
probably 6.
Okay.
For a short sprinter, that could be a lot
Yeah.
sometimes. But if he says 4, I'm
Face palming all the way.
like yes. Anytime he breathes like 1, I'm just like, oh my God.
As soon as he starts, as soon as he shapes his mouth ready to start that 150 word, he's like, I'm not involved today.
But I do it though. Like I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
do it or none of that. I do it. I just don't like 150.
Yeah, no, that's fine. All right, okay, cool. And then the last thing I wanted to ask you as well is like, so with things like sleep and nutrition, like how closely are you kind of monitoring the things that go on outside your workouts that might impact the following workouts? So things like recovery, as I say, like diet, hydration, sleep.
I've definitely been more mindful of my sleep and my nutrition.
Mhm.
Uh, because I need it. That's the only way that I'm going to be able to do this sport for 15 years like I plan to. And so, or maybe longer than that. I hope it's
Mhm.
longer. But um like sleep now is becoming easier. Like I'm getting tired earlier. So that gives me room to sleep more. But
Mhm.
the tricky thing about it is like I don't care how late I go to sleep or how early I go to sleep, I'm going to wake up early. But it's just a
Okay.
matter of like if I'm going to get that 7 to 9 hour,
Yeah.
the 7 to 9 hours amount of sleep. Um, that's the trick for me.
Okay.
And then nutrition wise, I've been very mindful. So of course, after the season's over, I'm like, ooh, fast food, fast food, fast food, McDonald's. I love McDonald's. I love McDonald's. Well, I
You get
realized
on
that,
with my daughter, then she loves it as well. So yeah, you guys can hang out.
yes. Well, I realized that I have a issue with McDonald's. Like I won't say I'm addicted to it, but like I love McDonald's. And so when the year started, like of course when I started back training or whatever, I wasn't eating it as much as I was like when I first stopped training,
Mhm.
just to take my time off. But I told myself in the year of 2023 that I am not going to eat fast food until after my season's over in September. So
Yeah.
I've been doing pretty good so far.
All right, cool.
I've been doing really good actually. I haven't been eating at McDonald's. And if I was to get something from McDonald's, it's literally oatmeal. And that's it. Because
Okay,
oatmeal
that's yeah, that's reasonable. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
so outside of oatmeal at McDonald's, I'm not eating fast food.
All right, okay. Yeah, I don't even know if that like, I mean, I
I feel
can't
like it
base it
doesn't
on any
matter.
kind of like objective kind of measure, but I would say that doesn't even count as fast food. Like if you're having oatmeal at McDonald's, then like, yeah, I think you're doing good there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
All right,
then
well,
like
well
other
done.
things. Yeah. And then like other things like I've been eating a lot more red meat.
Okay.
Um I still eat a lot of chicken and fish. But red meat was my biggest thing just because of like, my iron and things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So
E vitamins as well.
yeah. Definitely. I'm actually taking some vitamins right now, more so dealing with like my iron because you take blood tests and figure out
Mhm.
what your deficiencies are and things like that. So iron is a big one for me. Vitamin D is a big one for me, and then just your immune system, just
Yeah,
staying healthy and
yeah,
fighting off infections and diseases and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Especially after death day, right? Like those
Yeah.
workouts, like they suppress your immune system, and it sounds like I feel when you told me about death day, I think I started getting a little bit sick. So like even just hearing about it, so like when you actually do it, yeah, I feel like you just need to make sure that you're rebounding and taking care of that stuff to prevent, like you say,
Yeah.
any infections and that kind of stuff. So
But the great thing, the special thing about the death days are the further along you get in the season, the death days become different and
okay.
they're not as treacherous as they would be in the fall or like that first training cycle after conditioning. I don't care what nobody says. That first training cycle after conditioning is like really defining for you.
So my question here then, I guess, like really quickly, is do you think that the workouts get easier, or is it the case that you're in better shape and you're better able to withstand the same workouts?
I'm definitely in better shape to withstand the workouts,
Yeah.
um, which makes it easier for me.
Yeah, for
Or
sure.
I won't say not necessarily like the workload itself, but just it makes it easier to get through because you're in shape to do it.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and get it over with.
Yeah, yeah. You got a bit more confidence with it as well, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Melissa. Just to wrap up then real quick. I know that you're pretty active on social media on Instagram and you have a Twitter account and stuff, but if anybody's listening and they want to find you, where can they find you and what are your social media handles?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at __ Melissa J19. Um, that's Instagram, and then Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Melissa Janae 21.
Okay. All right, perfect. Melissa, it's been fantastic speaking with you today. I want to wish you all the best, obviously, with your 2023 season. And I know I'm not the only one who's excited to see how this pans out after such an exciting 2022. So yeah, all the best and thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.